Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, Simplifying Cybersecurity, How to Protect Your Organization. I'm Catherine Heumann, and on behalf of IT Solutions, we'd like to thank you for joining us. Every day, new vulnerabilities emerge and cyber criminals adapt, finding new ways to exploit them. It's no longer enough to simply react to cyber threats. Organizations must be proactive, ensuring every layer of their technology environment is secure. That's why IT Solutions has partnered with Todyl, a leading provider of unified security solutions, to enhance the services we offer. Todyl's cutting-edge features like SASE, Zero Trust, and next-gen firewall capabilities help simplify security management and protect against evolving cyber threats. We're joined today by Darrin Swan, Todyl's co-founder, to present with our security practice director, John Guzman. Together, Darrin and John will share real-life examples and actionable insights that you can take back to your team, empowering you all to protect your organization. We've set aside 30 minutes for a dedicated Q&A session where you can dive deeper into specific concerns and tap into the wealth of knowledge our two speakers bring. We'll be taking questions throughout the session via the Q&A button below, so please submit your questions there instead of the general chat. Now, I'd like to introduce today's presenters. John Guzman is a highly accomplished sales and leadership executive with over 2 decades of experience driving growth and innovation in the cybersecurity and managed services industry. John is currently the security practice director at ITS, where he oversees the development and execution of our managed security services portfolio, working closely with diverse teams to ensure client success and meet revenue goals. Throughout his career, John has held key roles at organizations such as ECS, UncommonX, Motorola Solutions, AT&T, New Spire Networks, and Verizon. He is also a member of ISACA, SANS, IOTSSA, and InfraGard. John holds certifications in HIPAA, security awareness, strategy, operations, risk management, framework, and GRCP. John is also a certified IT auditor. His expertise spans a broad range of areas, including cloud security, managed security services, digital transformation, and IT infrastructure solutions. John is a published author, and his passion for technology has made him a great asset in the cybersecurity field. Welcome, John.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome. Our second speaker is Darrin Swan, a recognized cloud solutions senior executive, entrepreneur, and notable speaker with over 25 years of experience in IT services, cybersecurity, and software solutions. Darrin began his career as a Unix system administrator, managing 2 24/7/365 Hewlett-Packard data centers before moving into software sales and channel leadership roles at Quest and Dell. Darrin is now the co-founder of Todyl, and his passion for achieving secure IT simplicity has been the beacon for his success in helping businesses secure their environments. With both John and Darrin's wealth of knowledge, we are excited to dive into today's discussion on simplifying cybersecurity. Now I'll hand it over to John to introduce a little bit about what we do at IT Solutions.
Thank you, Catherine. For those who don't know, ITS, IT Solutions, operates in a variety of large locations across the U.S., from the Northeast to the Southwest, and everything in between. We currently have about over 400 associates that work in different locations, over 900 clients nationwide, and do in excess of $100 million in revenue per year. We do pride ourselves on being a partner for our clients. And when I talk about partnership, I think that we're large enough to handle bigger customers and their needs, but also small enough to still care about what takes place and to have to not have a cookie cutter approach. So we I think are the right size for most SMBs out there. We can handle what comes down the pike. We've seen it. We've been there. We've done that, and we're doing that today. So what we offer, from a security standpoint, we handle everything that a customer might need, whether it be a small customer of maybe 25 users up to hundreds and hundreds of different users. We handle your IT from end to end and support your cybersecurity needs. And we are often chosen as the source for outsourcing for that IT operations and security plugin. We help customers understand what's going on with their infrastructure, help guide them and consult with them, partner with them to improve their security posture, and work with them in coordinating cloud, cybersecurity, automation, and IT, all for the betterment of the customer. So what's different about ITS? And we have both customers who are folks on the call today who are customers today, and we have new people checking us out. I think that one of the things that we are invested in is our customer success, because when they are successful, we're successful. We bring to bear the right people, the right processes, and the right platforms in order to help them succeed and improve. We tailor our support to exactly what the customer needs and drop the things that the customers don't. And I think a lot of that comes from active listening, helping our customers understand what's available in the marketplace today, and really, like it says, tailoring our approach to our customers' needs. At the same time, we have very experienced folks who have been with us from the very beginning and who we bring on that help with that strategic guidance. What's going on in the market today? What are businesses and organizations like yours doing to be successful in IT and cloud and cybersecurity? And what does that mean today? And what does that mean down the road? We know that cybersecurity, what we're here to talk about today, is an evolving and moving target. Bad actors are often ahead of the game when it comes to infiltrating organizations. We have to be smarter, and we have to be knowledgeable of what's taking place and how to mitigate that for our customers. Next slide, Catherine. So we're going to talk about our customers' cybersecurity maturity situation and why that's important. We're going to talk about, again, how threat actors are evolving, not only here in the US, but globally. And Darrin's going to really dive into what that means from an ecosystem point of view, from a regulatory point of view, and from a cyber insurance point of view. We're going to, I think, challenge the way you're looking at things today and start pointing towards what's coming down the pike and how do we start to make the changes today that will protect us down the road.
Great. Thanks, John. Actually, you can go back one. To start, Darrin Swan with Todyl, and my favorite place to be in front of customers and business owners and business leaders, and really helping understand what's happening right now in the cybersecurity threat landscape and what we're seeing, and then of course the approach, the strategy that we all must embrace to protect our businesses. You know, if you want to have fun, go to a party and tell a couple people you know a little bit about cybersecurity, and you're going to get bombarded all night long. That happens. So we are really at an important inflection point, and this has been a kind of a situation that's been compounding itself over time. And can you imagine a moment where you're operating in a world during an election season as you're entering into the holiday season? Yeah, that's where we are right now. Threat actors, they're changing. They've adapted. They, see what these security companies and technology companies are doing and learning from what hits the headlines of how they got caught and how they got found, and they adapt and they change. It's a continual cat and mouse game and evolution of the way they go after to try to gain entry and the way they then exploit to go maximize pain and go get as much money as fast as they can. So their methods keep changing, and we have to be mindful of that and have an approach that adapts to that. Last year, the threat actors got away with $8 trillion. $8 trillion, that's a big capital T. That's projected to go to 10.5 trillion. Now, when you think about from the numbers perspective, I like to do a little bit more math of the cybersecurity products and services, the market that the IT solutions team and Todyl is in, as well as many others, is a $2 trillion market to sell products and services, but it's underserved by 10 times. So we're a little bit behind as a world in defending against the threat actors and the activities that they're executing. We see common themes, common trends across every vertical. Every vertical has different crown jewels, critical infrastructure, sensitive information, intellectual property, things that those threat actors want to gain access to. And our job is to really do everything we can to prevent that from happening. And then if something does happen, we want to see it fast, and then we want to take it down fast. So the approach that we have overall here is not just selling you a bunch of tools and tech, and making your head hurt. No, it's a cybersecurity strategy that adapts to the threat actors. And what I mean by that, the threat actors, what they are doing now, and when I say threat actors, I speak in terms of the nation state threat actors that go after the biggest corporations, that go after the biggest government agencies and supply chain in the world. What they've done is they've created these sophisticated attack techniques, and it's going to a $10.5 trillion market, right? They've weaponized it as a service on the dark web. So they have these sophisticated capabilities that they sell down market to go after Main Street. And threat actors are equal opportunity exploiters. So they won't, it's not that you might not be directly a target, right? Maybe they aren't looking at your company and going, oh, I want to get them. No, it might be through the side door. It might be through the back door. It might be through the window, the chimney, accidentally, right? It might be through a supplier, a building cleaning person, what have you. So the approach here is to really create peace of mind with the right security strategy. So you can go ahead and click the next slide. So this is the way it works. We start with your endpoint, right? Everyone's got a device, maybe multiple devices, tablets and mobile phone and your laptops and so on. We have to make sure that device doesn't get any uglies jammed in there somehow, downloaded in there somehow. So we protect the endpoint with traditional next-gen endpoint protection that continuously updates itself to make sure we have the most recent attack methods understood so we can stop those attacks. And they keep changing those attacks. The next stage, which is where we are now, is the most important. So if you're part of a healthcare services provider, if you're a logistics provider, if you're a municipality, if you're part of our critical infrastructure, this is a must, but truly a must for all. So we want to separate your company from the internet. What I mean by that is we're going to separate the systems, your endpoints. If you're not reachable by the internet, you're not breachable. So if you click again, you can still get out to the internet and go reach what you need to, but the internet can't get you. See, that's the important factor. That's how threat actors in whatever basement they're working out of, that's how they get you. So the next click will show you when you have a Microsoft ecosystem, messaging and communications, or you have Google Workspace and those kind of messaging and communications. I love cats. I might not click it, but there's a, somebody will. And so that phishing, the targeted attacks, that's the easiest way for them to get in. And new methods that they brought forward are really sophisticated. MFA, very important. Everyone's got to do it, but they can still steal your MFA session token, which is that little identifier that shows that your identity and the person accessing that machine is truly you. But they have methods of stealing that now too. Yeah, right? It just keeps getting worse. They keep changing. But what we want to do is lock down your Microsoft ecosystem, lock down your Google ecosystem. And if you click again, threat actors can't touch you now. So even though John may get he likes cats, he gets his session tokens stolen, his credentials stolen. Threat actor can't touch your Microsoft stuff. You're locked down to this invisible network that we put you inside of, separate from the internet, right? You still get access to the internet, but we can also policy and control and make sure your employees don't go to those inappropriate for work destinations too. We want to policy and control and lock things down to make sure we're protecting those critical pieces of infrastructure, systems, and workforce members. So clicking again, so this is an interesting subject. So recent headlines with hospitals, with supply chain, with law firms, with manufacturing, with construction, there has been this misperception or, idea around, well, I'm in the cloud. I've got this software as a service. I've got this application. I've got this EMR. I've got this donor data system. All good here. I always say, read your SaaS agreement, your cloud agreement, because guess who's held harmless? If you were allowing entries somehow because one of your employees had a compromise and then that, user's credentials were compromising that application and then that brought you down. The application vendors aren't liable for that. Their job is to keep the applications up. So what we have, similarly to what we do with Microsoft and locking down Microsoft and Google, is if you click again, we can lock down other SaaS and cloud systems into this invisible network that works everywhere, wherever you go. So effectively, your employees can wake up in the morning, log in at home on their home network. They're a ghost on the network, the Xbox, the dishwasher connected to the internet, all those things can't see them and attack you. If they go to the airport, they go to the hotel, they go to the coffee shop, anywhere and everywhere they go around the world, they're a ghost on the network. They're separate from the internet. They have access to all your systems anywhere and everywhere they go. Very, very important prevention measure. This is how we make sure the threat actors can't reach you. If you're not reachable, you're not breachable. So next click will speak a little bit about what a lot of the cyber risk insurance policy requirements are, what a lot of the regulatory requirements have, is a system to ingest all your data, right? We want to ingest the endpoint and make sure we're threat hunting and nothing bad's happening. We want to ingest the Microsoft stuff and threat hunt and make sure nothing bad is happening. We want to ingest your cloud and make sure there's nothing bad happening. And the same thing with all your offices and all your locations. We have to do that. And the regulatory requirements and, the cyber risk insurance policies, and for all of our own peace of mind, we need to see and we need to know and we need to find answers. And we importantly need to report to you as a customer, yes, we did our job. We protected your business. We kept the doors open for business, not just the lights on. Maybe you have, I was on a call with a customer yesterday. They have upstream clients now that are mandating and demanding that they manage a certain level of security competency. So what that tells me is actually cybersecurity should be a core business value if it could impact the revenue stream or the customers or the suppliers that you can work with. Cybersecurity is an important attribute of a business now. It is. And so if you embrace cybersecurity as a core business value and where everybody cares and everybody does their job to do their best to make sure you guys aren't at risk, and we are here delivering a service to you to make sure we can accomplish that together, because as John put it, this is a partnership. This is all of our jobs now. We have to protect our businesses. This is our GDP, right? And if you don't think Washington's going to create, some compliance requirements to force us, it's going to happen. So it's all of our jobs. This system that will do the ingestion and do the threat hunting for insider risk, because we never know if employees are doing things they probably shouldn't, or outsider risk, who's trying to get us. Let's make sure we stop them. That's how we see it. And if you click again, we have a team 24/7, 365, security operations, security analysts that can read and understand fast what's happening and take it down. So majority of threats will come in the middle of the night when we're all sleeping. So when we wake up, we all experience the dumpster fire, right? So not anymore. We now have the ability to prevent bad things from happening, right? So there's a large prevention method. Let's make sure the bad things don't happen in the first place. And then we have a mechanism to see what's happening and see when bad things are happening fast, and then a team to take it down fast, right? Our enemy here is time. How soon do we see it? How soon do we take it down? And then was there a prevention mechanism that we could have employed first, right? So this is a continuous, improvement. How do we continue to move that line out, protect more, easier, faster, hopefully for less, because we have to all do this at scale together. And please feel free to ask questions as well. So the solutions you see here, you're going to begin seeing a lot of these in your cyber risk insurance policies, and you're going to start seeing some of these in the new regulatory compliance requirements. The bottom left is called a SIEM, but that's how we ingest the data across the network and the endpoints and your cloud and your SaaS, and how we do the threat hunting. And a lot of what the regulatory requirements mandate is a system like this, because they're looking for the evidence, right? They're looking for how can you demonstrate out to any regulatory branch that you saw what happened and then there was action to what happened, and you have to produce that evidence, right? So this is kind of like the evidence locker, but it's a threat hunting engine too. Then the SOC, you have to have a competent and expertise, the security operations team, to continuously investigate, continuously threat hunt, and be mindful of certain threat actor vertical activities. So we saw, legal application as a target. We saw EMR as a target. We saw, donor data systems as a target. Microsoft and Google messaging is always a target. Just be clear about that. We see your networking be a target. We have to keep up with that all the time with a lot of intelligence that we ingest. So you can go to the next slide. Here's the thing. We want to meet you where you are. We want to understand your risk, right? And what you have to risk. What are the crown jewels? What are the sensitive information, the sensitive systems, those executive, those high profile, high target, what you have to lose. Because those things that are going to cause the most pain is the way this threat actor is going to navigate to try to get access to maximize the pain so they can get the maximum payout. So we want to understand where you are and meet you where you are and mature your security strategy to get into an adaptive state. So we're fighting the good fight at where the threat actors are, because like I mentioned earlier, they weaponize everything as a service. So every other evil idiot out there can go use those tool sets and go get other people too. As we do so with the right cybersecurity strategy, of which is not just made up, right? It's made up of the threat actor techniques and methods and what they're doing, but also there's some foundational frameworks that we operate from as well. So from CISA, the cybersecurity infrastructure administration, plus Department of Homeland Security, plus CISVA, plus CMMC, all these government regulatory requirements that we all have to adhere to, HIPAA, FINRA, you name it. The security strategy is ahead of these a lot of the times. Threat actors are 1 year to 3 years ahead of the regulatory bodies because they have the team, the infrastructure, the investment to keep iterating. And now they have, oh my gosh, AI, right? It's getting scarier. So, but we want to stay at that edge in the battle in the streets and where it is with these threat actors. And if you have the right security strategy, you're going to check all these boxes, right? Because we're ahead of the compliance and regulatory requirements most of the time because they tend to be behind. So, John?
John, you're on mute.
That should be better.
There we go.
So thank you, Darrin. I think it's important to recognize that 20 to 30% of all SMBs, I think that's just over 33 million organizations, companies across the US have this type of protection. Now, there's different vendors out there, and one of the reasons that we partner with Todyl and have that tool in our bag is because they are focused on what things will look like tomorrow and down the road, and those threats that are coming through today. How do we mitigate not only today but down the road? So we have a product that is security as a service, kind of the dream team that includes Todyl and their offering, but also MFA, multi-factor authentication, SaaS alerts, M365 Shield, to help inform, educate, and alert our clients on what's taking place today. And we combine all that to give them a clear understanding of what's happening, but also which way things are trending. And we can talk a little bit about that offline. Next. So our team works with Todyl and Darrin's team on threat detection. The SIEM detects activity that's taking place on the network. The SOC, the Security Operations Center, investigates what's going on, but we have special software that can take 100,000 alerts and boil that down to maybe 6 that are not false positives or that don't make the cut as far as things that we need to put eyes on. We put eyes on that and determine if that's something that we need to block a hash with, quarantine a device, or help the customer understand that there's an attack underway that's just begun, or if there's something lurking in their network that we need to quarantine and get out of there. So when we talk about access control, besides multi-factor authentication, SASE blocks access to devices and prevent that attack from spreading. And if you look at the illustration prior to this that Darrin was working off of, it shows how Todyl and their software blocks that stuff before it ever gets into your network. And there's a zero trust network access available with the SASE that, again, limits a bad actor's ability to work within your network, shuts them down, and keeps them in place. So when it comes to containment and recovery, as I mentioned before, we have extended managed detection and response, not just MDR, but that extended that looks for that lateral movement within the within your network, that looks for a combination of things that add up to, hey, this isn't right. We look at user behaviors, and I think Darrin spoke a little bit about that already. One of the products that Todyl offers and is included in their offering is next-gen AV, so antivirus, to make sure that we're detecting that malware and that it never even hits your network. So with that, the SOC has ongoing support and 24/7 by 365. If they see something that needs your attention, they'll reach out, whether it's 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. Our team works with theirs in order to make sure that communication and those communication lines are already drawn and utilized whenever needed. So when we talk about the future, we talk about making sure that MFA is in place, a great product that can reduce intrusion into the network by over 90%. That SASE with ZTNA, again, prevents access control, and the SIEM, which is the brains of the operation, it's always looking, always listening for information, and the SOC work together to give you that peace of mind that you're not only protected today, but down the road. And you'll see more and more legislation coming out that will guide customers into this Siemens SOC environment.
Yeah, one of the questions that was brought up, John, was around FTC safeguards GLBA, which is really interesting, subject at the moment with the Chevron doctrine and the Supreme Court kind of situation where they found that they didn't have the powers to enforce, and what are the implications there. And I think we're going to see a lot more thoughtfulness in how different regulatory and compliance requirements are structured going forward. And then what kind of teeth are put in place to administer and manage it. We know in other verticals as well, where there's not enough regulatory body individuals to actually enforce things in protecting a lot of our government agencies. So there's a big challenge that we have, I think, as a nation, that even other nations are having a difficult time with around, how do I get my country, our businesses, to do the right things and protect themselves through some form of regulatory enforcement, while having the resources and the expertise, frankly, because we have a very large deficiency in cybersecurity skill sets globally. That's a fact. How do we scale this, right? And I think that's the important factor here of the cybersecurity program and strategy that the IT solutions team is bringing to you all. Is this is an effective, objectively demonstrable through data cybersecurity strategy, right? Because if we have to sit in front of a judge and jury in a court of law with you, because the cyber risk insurance policy carrier decided to deny, or whatever the reason is, we have to show the data. We have to show the data, and we can do so. We can all demonstrate we did our best efforts, because that's what it comes down to in front of court of law. So very, uncertain times for sure, but I think there's an approach here and a strategy here that helps provide that peace of mind and confidence.
Yeah, I agree. We see a lot of changes coming in. For PCI, for instance, is in the process of changing and increasing their requirements for security. We look at California CCPA and the regulations there, and those are evolving. 3 years ago, I think there was only 1 or 2 different states that had regulatory requirements around cybersecurity. That has changed, and nearly half the states out there have some sort of cybersecurity rules or laws that they are enforcing. And it's important that we know what's going on in every state in the U.S., that we understand what's happening, because even though you may not live in that state, if you do business in that state, you're on the hook. So important information to keep in mind as cybersecurity evolves with the threats.
It's all of our responsibility. So
yeah.
Any other questions there, Catherine?
Yeah. So a question I have is, how do you recommend maintaining robust security without hindering operational agility?
Excellent question. Cybersecurity done right is in the back scenes, where the customer end user workforce member doesn't even know. So we should be helping with the business staying connected, making sure they can hit all their systems and staying protected at the same time, where it's transparent, until something happens, where there may be an incident, an issue where somebody does get access to your email account, and we have to stop that threat actor and stop that email account. Well, that might be frustrating. I can't get into my email. Well, you'll thank us, because we stopped the threat actor that was successful with some form of clicking to gain, control of things. So the only time it's disruptive is when something bad has happened, and that's where we're stopping it fast, and then we're helping clean it up and make it go back to live. But it should be 99.9, let's hope, percent, always happy and transparent in the background.
Yeah, and just to tack onto that, Darrin, I think it's very important that we are in the back seat, that you never hear from us unless there is a problem. I think that's where your experience, your team's experience at Todyl and our team's experience kind of come together, because we know what works. We're experienced at it. We understand the process and the technology, and we have a concerted effort to make sure that all of that takes place in the background.
Thank you both. I have another question here. It's, what are the best ways to future-proof security strategy? I know you both, touched on that a bit during the presentation, but if you want to elaborate a bit more.
Yeah. Darrin, you want to take that, or you want me to?
I can. So, how can you future-proof? I think, part of it is the most impactful prevention method you could possibly do is what the White House did an executive order around our critical infrastructure, supply chain, and government assets, and mandated that these agencies went to zero trust networking. And that's one of the things, as I was describing earlier, how do we mitigate the risk of a threat actor reaching you? If you're reachable so we can all reach the internet, right? We can all reach the internet, but the internet can reach us. So if we can stop the internet from reaching us, that is one of the most powerful ways, and separate all your organizational systems from the internet and your endpoints and everything from the internet being able to reach you. That's going to be the most impactful thing to prevent threat actors from gaining access. And that's your cloud, that's your SaaS, that's your endpoint, that's all your office locations. That's the strongest strategy right now. Then all the other pieces are all other conditional endpoint, making sure that's not, getting some things brought into the machine, the network, other pieces that we described today. These are all a prevention and detection and response strategies. So it's not just one silver bullet. There's layers here, right? So because we think about it as your house, you have windows, you have chimney, you have garage, you have all these different elements that comprise your home. And we need to have a holistic way to protect the entire home, and also make sure nothing bad is happening inside the home already, because it could be an insider risk as well, not just something coming through the chimney or the back door or the garage. So it's a holistic layered approach.
Yeah, and I think also when we talk about keeping the internet closed or prevented, I think that we kind of look at that like a highway with toll booths and gates, that if you're not an approved user, you don't move on to the next section. And that really does a lot when we talk about zero trust, when we talk about MFA or SASE in that zero trust network. Those are the gates that we're putting up, so threat actors don't ever have a chance to reach your network. So,
Great answers. Thank you. Just a reminder to everyone, if you have any questions, feel free to use the Q&A button on the bottom and we'll answer them there. I have another question from someone here. They asked, what do you see the biggest gains in automating security processes, especially in the small to medium business market?
Good question. One of the examples is around business email compromise. What we're seeing in the market is threat actors have adapted the methods that they use to go undetected in a business email compromise scenario, where they will phish somebody and then they'll act normally, like you would. They don't do things that would normally trigger alarms or trigger alerts and things like that. They're looking opportunistically for a moment, an opportunity to insert themselves and go get some money, create harm, whichever. So as part of that, they've learned how to not do that. But we've created detection methods to see anomalous activities. So for example, John is connecting on his normal machine all day long, using his same machine, connecting from the same data center. So we know his machine and we know the data center, and we know maybe he moves around a lot, but we know kind of a pattern of his normal usage and normal locations he works from. But then there's another machine that just shows up nearby that we've never seen before, that's connected at the same time. So that's just a simple example of anomalous activity. Maybe somebody got his email box access, and then used local location to not trigger a Microsoft Impossible Travel event, and they didn't do any forwarding or other kind of normal techniques. So we have to be adaptive to those threat actor techniques and methods. So as they're not triggering normal, email compromise rule sets that a lot of these organizations have, we have to adapt to the new techniques and methods that we're seeing and then make the new detection methods apply across the board. So what that allows us to do from an automation perspective, now we're not looking at, as what John mentioned earlier, a lot of false positive, a lot of noise, a lot of things that distracts the attention of the security team on what matters. The true positives, the issues that actually are, negative and have consequences to them. We want to focus the energy. So with automation, and we're seeing with machine learning and with AI, as we have a holistic view of a customer's digital landscape, right? We can see this anomalous activity inside of this digital landscape. New things that shouldn't happen, or things that have never happened. All of a sudden, John starts moving a monster amount of data at Sunday at 2 o'clock in the morning. He's never done that. That's weird. Let's go see and make sure John's okay, right? So it's the scene that we were talking about is really important in being able to determine, what is real and what is not, but it's the automation of the threat actor knowledge that we have, and the intel sources that we have, and the threat detections that we do to make sure we're not looking at the wrong things, and making sure we're looking at the right things, and then how we can bubble up those things so they can be actioned fast. Because that's it. It's how quickly do we see it? How quickly do we take it down?
Thank you, Darrin. Do you want to touch on that, John, before I go to the next question?
No, I think Darrin hit the nail on the head.
Great. Another question that we got is, how do I figure out which cybersecurity tools I actually need?
Good
I
question.
can
Yeah.
go ahead.
You can have that, John, or I can take it.
I think a lot of that comes from conversations that we have with our prospects or our customers, understanding where they are today, helping them understand where they are today, and then creating strategies for moving forward. One of the things we touched on very early in the presentation was the NIST cybersecurity framework and the NIST security maturity model. And everything that we do and everything that Darrin and his team at Todyl do is focused on improving the level of security. And the way we measure that is by looking at, hey, where are we from a maturity standpoint? What are the goods and services, products and services that we need? What do we have today? And how do we move forward to help reduce that threat surface area? So I think that's important to incorporate those. Those are guidelines that are associated with just about every compliance framework out there. And using those helps us understand where we are, gives us a roadmap to where we need to be, not only today, but down the road. Darrin?
I'll spin it a little bit and think about it from your shoes, which is, what are the crown jewels, critical, sensitive information? What would hurt you the most if it got out? What threat actors have done is interesting, right? So they used to do the ransomware and the malware and, lock up your data and then say, give me money, right? That was kind of the normal threat actor attack method. They still do that, of course. But what they've pivoted to is they want to find a tombstone level set of data inside of your organization that if that gets out, that's going to hurt you more, right? That's going to destroy your company, destroy your firm. In recent incidents, that have taken place, it has been the EMR, taking down the EMR, stealing the patient records and steal patient data, and shutting down the healthcare institution. In law firms, it's stealing that critical court case that you have for that brand damage that could take place. For financial institutions, I mean, what do you hold precious? You know, what does a threat actor want to get so they can weaponize it against you and hurt you? And sometimes it could just be communications, right? Things with the board, things with investors, things with key customers and clients, things internally. It could be a variety of different things because that's what they look for as they linger and wait and learn and understand the nuances of your business. Is they want to find that data set that they can go, hey, look what I got. I'm going to destroy you. The other interesting thing that they do is they go to the customers too with that data. So it's kind of like a triple demand. One, I lock down your systems, you can't operate. Two, I've got your data, pay me or I'm going to sell it or what have you. Three, they go to the customers and say, hey, I compromised John and I've got your customer data, pay me, otherwise I'm going to release it. So they hit people 3 times. So just think about like what would get out that would destroy your organization. You know, what is that data set? These are some of the crown jewel things that we want to make sure that we understand so we can have the proper security protections around it. So as John put it, meet you where you are, understand what might be in scope from a compliance perspective, and then implementing the right security strategy to do the right prevention levels, make sure we have the right detection levels, and then the response actions to make sure you have a complete security strategy.
Yeah, and I want to point out that doesn't mean you get every tool under the sun. There are strategies to help mitigate and remediate, to help detect. We're going to put all those together based on where you are today and where you want to be. So it's not just getting a whole bunch of tools, because that's not going to accomplish what you really want and need to have accomplished. We're going to work with every individual client to help them do as much as possible with as little as possible, to make sure that we're bringing value to everything that we do, which again is why we're with Todyl for these products. That great and forward-thinking company as far as how do we protect not only today but down the road.
Great answers. Thank you both. The last question that I have right now is, what are the most sophisticated threat vectors you're seeing in the market right now? I know both of you have touched on some of the ways, you know, cyber criminals are advancing very quickly. But if there's some other ones that come to mind.
You know, I think a big part of it is the access brokering that's taking place. So they have on the dark web marketplaces where people do their job to go find and get your credentials and get access to your systems, and then they sell the access to somebody else. So the way the maturity of the threat actor landscape has evolved into sub-industries, they're scaling right now threat actor activity, right? So they have different stages of access that people will sell to other more sophisticated threat actors. So maybe my capability is I can go get somebody, I can go get their credentials, and I can go get access to critical systems, and then they'll sell it up to another more sophisticated threat actor to take the next stage. So that's the operationalization, the mechanization, they're a business. It's the 3rd largest GDP in the world is threat actors, right? So it's a big industry. It's a big business. So that's one of the things. The other that I mentioned is the way the threat actors are not triggering the normal detections that a lot of the solutions are used to doing around business email compromise. Business email compromise is still the very, very top, by order of magnitude, top entry point, right? So with that, they use a solution. I'll just give an example. Evil Genx, GENX. Anybody here can go use it. And we can steal session tokens and we can steal credentials, and it'll make it seem like, oh, I just got access to my email. I just had to go through my password stuff. But they steal those session tokens, they steal your credentials, and then they use other techniques to mimic you to where we're not, they're not triggering the threat act, the normal detections. So we've overcome that with anomaly detection, but it's every day. It changes every day.
Thank you, Darrin. John, do you want to add to that?
No, I think that there has been a shift and a division of labor and a greater sophistication, not only for the end user threat actor, but all the layers underneath that Darrin described. Great analysis, Darrin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Those are all the questions I have right now. We have a couple minutes left, so feel free to drop one in the chat. But for now, I'm just going to transition to our takeaway slide. If you would both like to touch on this.
Yeah, I can go ahead and kick off. So one of the things that we've seen in the evolution of the threat landscape is that the attack vectors change on a regular basis. What's being done by those threat actors is ahead of the regulatory bodies by often years. And we have to stay ahead of and think ahead of where we are today. What we're doing today won't work a year or two years down the road. We've seen that the criminals are working faster and harder than the regulators and Congress. So what we do is we at Todyl and at IT Solutions is focus on the tools that can help a customer today and down the road. So we have those conversations. Here's where you are today. In 2 years, that number, that 20 to 30% for Siemens SOC will be probably closer to 50%. As regulators bolt that on and say, hey, you need to have someone taking a look and managing your logs, someone updating what's going on. What are you doing to restrict access? How does that impact insurance, cybersecurity insurance? And are you getting the alerts that you need today in order to pull all of that together? And I know that's one of the reasons we've decided to and continue to work with Todyl and the team over there. They have some of the best engineering folks and analysts. They do this on a global basis, and they do it for small customers and medium-sized customers, large and enterprise customers. So Darrin, would you like to add on to that?
Absolutely. I want to get everybody to have peace of mind that we are doing everything we can to protect your business. Keep your doors open for business, keep your customers happy, keep your suppliers paid, keep your, products and services and goods, everything happening. It's great to react to it after it's happened, but to prevent things from happening and having that peace of mind that you are doing everything you can to protect the business just feels good. That's where we want to get to, because then we have the confidence and then we know we've done our job.
Absolutely. I think that's the perfect way to segue into our final slide here. I want to thank everyone for attending. To our clients that are here, you will hear from your designated strategic advisor soon. They'll be reaching out with some next steps related to what John and Darrin have shared with us today. And for anybody who is maybe new to ITS or interested in partnering with us, you'll hear from a strategic account executive also with some next steps related to what Darrin and John shared, and then also a little bit more about what partnering with ITS looks like and other ways that we can help you. Thank you again to Darrin and John for presenting on this. This was really helpful, really great information, and I hope that everybody got some good takeaways and, like Darrin said, got some peace of mind from this presentation. All right, with that, I'm going to close out the webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Catherine.